Femme House fam, you have no idea how funny the last 25 minutes have been. We're going to have to put together a blooper reel or something like that because the world needs to see what just happened. But for now, for the professional take two, the final draft, I am her mix-a-lot. This is Femme House Radio on BPM Sirius XM, Channel 52. I am here with DJ Lady D, Lori Branch, and VD Girl, also known as the Good Girls DJs. What's happening, fam?
Hello,
What's
hello.
happening?
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here with me. Before everything got hilarious, we were actually recapping how y'all met. And Dee, you were telling the story, but you also said that Lori tells it best. So, Lori, welcome. I'm glad you made it. Tell me how the Good Girls came together in your memory.
Well, I think it was an alignment of the stars, and certainly, DJ Lady D being the instigator that she is in all things, was blamed for it because she had an idea of doing a festival called Good Girls DJs, where she would invite women, a lot of women, to participate. And I think it ended up like we did a party together. We got invited to do something, and so it was just the three of us. She met BD Girl one way. I met BD Girl as a DJ for a radio station we both played. She played before me, I played after. I'm familiar with my friends like, what girl does? Oh, what's happening? Who's this young woman? Like, we were like 25, like playing all this old school house music. And we were like, "Who is this?" I was so drawn to her, and of course, everybody loves Lady D. But yeah, after we did the first party, I think the little girl and I were just like, no, we're the good girls. This is the good girl. I don't know if Charlene, if you meant that to be. Like, you're like, wait a minute, we're going to add more to it. I think we just sort of took it over. This is the group.
This is the group.
That's how
You know
I,
what? What I love about y'all is that you're all bringing a bunch of different identities and intersections and cultures together. You're multi generational. You're multi racial. You're multi um, gender presenting and sexuality. Like, how do y'all bring this sort of breadth of experience that you each have in your own individual communities and individual life experiences to this group in a special way that seems to resonate with people?
Yeah, I think, the power is our differences. Like, we really attract several different audiences, and they come for the experience of seeing us all together. So, I have a fan base that's 65% male, 35% woman. But my community is, you know, gay, straight, queer, and so like those people, I would say the community itself is house, and that's the house community. So anybody loves house gonna get everything that they could probably potentially want from a house artist in the three of us. And so it is really that culmination of all of our talents, all of our gifts, all of our audiences coming together and checking each other out and appreciating all of that we have to offer. So it's really dope because, I would say Lori plays for many different types of audiences. I play for different types of audiences. So does V Girl. And so when we are all together, it could be, the party that we do is called Old Gold, where we're playing nothing but vinyl. It's 30 and up, primarily queer and lesbian. And, those are some parties that we are residents at. And then, we might do Smart Bar, which, will be a little bit of everybody. So it's just, I think the wonder is, the representation, the visibility, and all of that comes together. And those intersections really match up because house is house, you know?
And I feel
Viti
like,
girl,
oh,
I'm
sorry.
sort of curious about your experience as part of the group. Just because there's like there are some outliers, right? Like you're white,
Yeah.
you're younger. I'm curious about sort of like your entry to house music and how it feels now to sort of be sandwiched between these two legends and like learn from them, and how you could bring that learning to communities that might be entering the space from a different place, just because of how you outwardly present.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's an honor. It's also exciting, and there's like something to be learned or thought about every single day in every conversation. And to your point,
Mm.
I'm seeing kind of the, I don't know, the symbolism in when I kind of started thinking about my radio show being scheduled right before Lori's, right, all those years ago when we first met. And it really was kind of me, this outlier in the state of research of the music, of the sounds, actually, who made them, what was the climate historically in the city, in the world when this music was happening. And if I think about now, in a way, maybe I am able to bring so many people into the real history of house, the real artists, the real roots, because they may see me and recognize or see a familiarity in me, which then can lead them, if they open their eyes, right, to where it all really comes from. And thinking about your question earlier, it's like, because we have this pride and this visibility in these identities we share or we don't share, I think it kind of allows us to be able to become even bigger than them in a way. Like we don't have to just be this one representation of this identity that we have. In
Yeah.
fact, it can become so much more fluid, and the ways that we get to come up against each other, where we might differ, where we might be the same. And so it's a very reverential position that I have, and it's one that I don't take lightly, but I think in a way it can be one of learning and sharing, and of trying to actually figure out, I don't believe there ever is just one story, but I think there's a lot of overlooked stories. And so how do we get this younger generation to hear those stories? And that's something I think I can do.
Yeah, speaking of the younger generation, I mean, my lens is both a fan and a professional at this music. Like, to me, dance music ends and begins with Chicago, and ends
Hmm.
and begins with Chicago house. As students of the game, as now pioneers of the game, as advocates for the game right now in this moment, how are you experiencing Chicago's place in dance music pantheon, especially as dance music grows and grows and grows? And I'm editorializing here, but like it's more and more unwieldy, and more and more separated from its roots with respect to the mainstream and how it's represented on a global scale. How do y'all sort of like, what do you feel about that? How do you think about that? And how does it inform the work that, the really, quite frankly, important work that you do in preserving its history, and sort of like, almost like gatekeeping Chicago? And I use the word gatekeeping. I know that
Oh,
like that has a sort of negative connotation, but when I think about Chicago, past, present, and future, y'all are on your own thing, setting culture and not giving a damn about what's happening outside of Chicago, which is what makes y'all super tight. That's what makes, every trend, I think, can be traced back to Chicago, past, present, and future, like I said. And you guys keep it underground, you keep the culture really, really tight, and you keep it close to where it came from, and you honor that. So how do you do
hmm.
that and also take this message to the world, as you guys have done a really great job of doing that?
I mean, I'll start. I think it's a really great and complex question because there is certainly a pull to do that sort of in a scholarship way. That there are people who are much more invested in the history of house music and Chicago's specific role. And that's evidenced by the number of documentaries and books and our representatives who are so proud to talk about that. People like our friend Honey Dijon, who talks about it. She in almost every interview she will say, "Look, Chicago, Chicago, Chicago," and she talks about it. Not everybody from Chicago does that, but there are some folks, especially from the queer community, who are really very much rooted in that tradition. And so they are the ones who are kind of trying to, I wouldn't say gatekeep, but really preserve, the underpinnings of all of this and really our foundation. And so I think that that is happening while we continue to evolve beyond the city. And there's many artists who come and gone and are out there in the world. And I'm not saying Chicago, Chicago, because they may say, I don't want to feel connected to history. I'm now. And I get that, but I think that you can do both. And I think that's what we try to do.
Yeah, I think Chicago is still a bucket list thing for just about anybody that is playing in house. I've noticed that anytime somebody comes from out of town and they come to Chicago, they are shook. They don't know what to do because they know that they're on hallowed ground. They always have a hard time playing unless they've been doing it a lot. But for the most part, people come here and they don't know how to act, and it's just because they know, that they will be found out. They will be found wanting if they don't really, come correct. And so your whole career can be based on, you know, a lot of nothingness. And you come to Chicago and you're gonna get people who are gonna either be there with you or break out. And so that part is really true. The other part that I think, I always say micro is macro. And so what's happening on the streets here, we've had a real, resurgence. I don't know if you call it resurgence because we've always been here, but the fact that the 20 somethings and the people who are emerging in the community really give a damn and really care about the music and really care about the culture, and that it's hasn't gone by the wayside of like jazz and blues before it, that they're really a really growing population of young DJs and producers who are planning their own festivals, planning their own events, creating their own crews. I mean, doing it up in Chicago to the extent where I said, "Oh, damn, this is so good. This is so good." Because we had a moment where a lot of people came and then they fell off. They got frustrated by the music industry. Music industry will eat you up and spit you out. And so if you're not here for the long haul, you'll go. You'll go get yourself a corporate job and call it a day. And that's easy to do for a lot of folks. The people who, you see right now have stuck with it for years and years and years and probably always will because it's really in you to do. When you feel really called to it, like we noticed, like Lori and I noticed in Hannah, there was, we had to mentor that. We had to sort of, sandwich ourselves around her and say, okay, you deserve this opportunity. So it was like that. And there are a lot of people in Hannah's age group, I think, that are similar. Who, there are people our age who are mentoring them, who have put their arms around them and said, we're going to support you and we want to take you with us. So so yes, because for a while we were gatekeeping. I think a lot of people were not sharing that with people, and they looked around. They were like, "How come there are no young people in house?" And it was like, because you haven't brought any in. You told them, "Nah, go away," and that's what they did. So I think that we are in a really good position. So I think whatever is happening here in Chicago, which is super, super good, the world is also getting to experience. And so if we are finally getting some infrastructure in terms of, our municipality kind of catching on, even though it's late, with doing conferences, doing festivals in the park, trying to do a lot of programming, putting money into that and supporting the industry of house, letting us monetize things and do big events in the middle of the city. So for many years that was not happening, and so it took a while for them to understand this is an American-born musical art form created in Chicago by Black and Brown youth. Get with it, and so they finally did. So I think that's the
That's
same.
so that's such a powerful sort of recognition on your part, right? Because I immediately think about like the Delta South and like New Orleans and like jazz and blues and how those cities and those regions have made it a part of their history. And I think about rock and roll and like Memphis
Yes.
and how like that city has made it, Nashville, they've made it a part of their cultural and regional identity. And you're right, Chicago has been quite late, right? Which
Hmm.
contributes then to folks not recognizing Chicago in the way that they should, which contributes then to artists in the pipeline not feeling supported and leaving to go work at a bank or Trader Joe's or whatever the fuck because it's an easier, less thankless living, right? And I
Yep.
also think about how the younger generation, and when I say this specifically, I'm thinking exactly of Zora, who comes out of Chicago, who's still like to this day one of my, if not probably my favorite Femme House Radio ever episode that I ever did. Who's passionate as fuck about being like, fuck that. Actually, this belongs to me. This is my
Yeah.
birthright. And I don't give a damn if the mayor doesn't see it. I don't give a damn if white people don't see it. I don't give a damn if the bookers that are gatekeeping venues for me don't see it. I'ma build this shit just like my auntie and my uncle did, and like my parents did, and like my grandparents did, and like my elders did. And
Right.
it's a really great time for like the bridges to be finally connected
Hmm.
by like the infrastructure and support of the city. So it's a really exciting time in Chicago, which is why D, for one, we're honoring you at the Femme House Awards that we're having next month, and also why I wanted to have you curate this program for us this month because um, I think everything that's coming out of Chicago, as evidence to your point earlier, Lori, about the scholarship of it all, the documentaries, the books, the articles, the reclamation is at its most powerful point at this point.
Yeah.
And it just like I'm gonna tell everybody, everybody, and I appreciate y'all for letting me help with that.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for platforming Chicago primarily, Chicago House secondarily, and us, giving us the ability to just tell our story and show that these intersections can work, that you can do non-performative allyship, that you can have intergenerational, DJ, affinity groups, and that there's strength in numbers, there's power in that, and all the things that we have to offer each other, working together in a non-competitive way, all of those things can take you further. I love these ladies, I love these women, I love these girls, these, they have my heart for real. Like, I've been in some other sisterhoods, but this is,
Oh my goodness.
to me, the one that really shook me up, that shakes my heart.
Wow, Dad,
And every
thank
day
you.
they prove themselves to be just, you know damn, they're just great. I don't know. I'm like, I can't even, I can try to come up with some, shit, but like, that's how I feel about these ladies. It's
I know
just love.
you're trying to get all eloquent with it, but
I
it's
know.
just
I
like
was. I
it's
know.
just in
I was
here,
like a
right?
fat kid loves cake, baby. No, but
We have a lot
I
of
want
fun, and I
Lori
have
to
a
have the
feeling a
last
lot of
word.
no, hey, you nailed it. I mean, the feeling is mutual. I never had a crew like this. I've been DJing since 1981. I never had a crew like this, and so it just was a reminder that it gets better and better. So, whoever's out there listening, like it gets better and better. You stick with it. You find the right people, and you have your life. You know.
Wise words from a legend feel like a good place to end this shit to me. What do y'all think?
Absolutely. Facts. This was
For
Man,
sure.
Good
amazing.
Girls DJ crew, I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for what you're doing for the culture. Thank you for what you've done to build dance music so that we can even have a platform like this on satellite radio and reach 60 million people a year across the world. Like, none of this, and this is sort of part of why I wanted to talk to y'all, and quite frankly, why I built this new set of programming at Femme House, right? Like, none
Hmm.
of this is possible without y'all. None of this. None of this exists without y'all. And it's a real honor to share space with you and to advocate for you and with you. And I appreciate the work that you've done to advocate for all of us so that we can even have these conversations and do these things that we do and participate in the economy of DJing and dance music. So I love all of y'all deeply. I'm so proud to hold space in this industry with all of you, and I appreciate all the ways that you sort of build me up so that we can continue to build each other up. I'm very grateful, and I can't believe we breathe the same air. If I know not to get all dramatic and shit,
Man,
it's crazy. Okay.
let's just keep
This
making a joyful
platform is super
noise.
important.
A
Yeah. Thank you
joyful
so much.
noise.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
doing what you
you.
do.
I
So
Seriously,
appreciate
important.
so
y'all.
important.
Hmm.
Femme House fam, these are Good Girls DJs, legends from Chicago to the world. Thank you guys. I love you so much.
Thank
Catch
you.
us
Thank you.
next time. We're gonna have some more legends for you because that's what this shit is all about. I'm her mix a
That's
lot.
what it's
Deuces.
about.